الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله الكريم. قال الله تعالى: ولن ترضى عنك اليهود ولا النصارى حتى تتبع ملتهم. وقال: إن الدين عند الله الإسلام. وقال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام: خالف المشركين. وقال: من تشبه بقوم فهو منهم. We begin as always by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sending salawat and salam upon our beloved Master Muhammad, his honorable companions, noble family, and all those who tread the straight path. May Allah make us from them and keep us among them. Ameen. Normally, the last Friday of October, I tend to discuss something related to October 31st, and I've been doing it for about 5 years now. But today I wanted to approach it from a different angle. As most of us, we are people who have intrinsic core values. We have things that you hold onto and you would not compromise, you would not be persuaded to change your mind. Things that are natural. Someone tells you, why don't you eat that off the ground? You would say, no, that's not something that I would do. You feel disgust for it. That's something that you have that's intrinsic within you. It's a principle, it's a core belief that you have that you would not compromise on that. Somebody tells you to do something or someone else is doing something and your moral compass, your conscience tells you, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not for me. That's not my thing. I just don't like it. I'm not going to judge you on it, but I just don't like it. We talk about something simple as even dietary preferences. You just don't like a certain, meal or a certain type of food. Yeah, it's a thing of preference, but you hold on to that. You are a person who is principled. You have your mawqaf. Now, when it comes to being in Canada, being in Edmonton, and having children, and having our children interact with society instead of being cocooned, we live in a society that our children will interact and they will observe things around us. Say, okay, no, I will homeschool. Even if you homeschool your child will definitely go to Walmart or Superstore and they will see that whole selection of candy with the orange and black theme. Or if you don't take them grocery shopping and you just keep them home, they'll want to play with their neighbors' children. And eventually they step out and they will see tombstones and cobwebs and coffins and those large decorations, lawn decorations. So they will see all of that. And you will also see it and you will think, is this something that I should be worried about? Or should I let things play out, let my children be happy, let them fit in? A question that comes in the mind of every parent, whether you immigrated in this country or your parents immigrated to this country or your grandparents immigrated to this country. We are a people who have our own values. We have our own principles. We have Islam. When we have Islam and our own values, we will obviously identify things that go against that. The challenge then falls on how do we work with that knowledge of what our children are facing and to either succumb to that and let them do what they want or engage them. There are three types of parenting styles as outlined by psychologists. The book is Positive Parenting in a Muslim Home. So the author mentions three types, and I want you to think about this and reflect on it from your point of view of whether if you are a parent, how you are, or if you, obviously we're all children to our parents, how our parents were, and then look at what direction society is going in. So the first is the authoritarian style of parenting, which is where the parent wields authority. The parent feels the child is not able or is not in a position to engage with intellectually, and the child is inherently ignorant, so the child needs to be guided and nurtured, and the child's opinion does not matter. This is the first method of where you just instruct and you expect the child to comply. This is the parent says something and the child, he knows not to ask questions or to oppose in any way. So dad's saying it, so just do it. This method worked for centuries. And then the second method is a permissive way of parenting, a permissive style of parenting, is where the parent feels it's a free-spirited way. You let the child do whatever the child wants. You don't set boundaries because the objective is what? the child's happiness. And that permissive parenting style is the parent does not want to use his authority, his or her authority, to create boundaries to restrict the child's happiness. Let the child do whatever the child wants. This is the second way, and you will find this quite common in many societies. The third is an authoritative style, which is a balance of both, which is basically to take it as a form of democracies where you discuss things with your children, you get feedback from them, and then you make a decision where they feel their thoughts and emotions are validated. You are acknowledging that they can think things and they can experience things and they can express those comfortably in a safe space with you. Now, this third style is what works right now because our children are growing up over here in Canada. The first would have worked for some of us. It definitely worked for, our parents, maybe our grandparents, but it's not what's going to work in the long term in Edmonton. I say this as a parent of two children, and my kids are just 4 and almost 2. But I look at the way I am with them, and then I think back to how my parents were with me. There's a difference. And it's because I have to be more patient and I have to engage. And I discussed it with my children's mother, and she shared that with me. She's like, you can't just simply say instructions or give instructions and expect them to understand or comply. You have to rationalize it for them. I said, my daughter's 4 years old. Why does she need to understand that this is why I'm doing it? I'm saying it and she should just listen. She said, that's not the thing. And she recommended that book to me anyways. It's a great book. I'd recommend it to all parents. So now when we understand these 3 ways of parenting and we understand our children will be exposed to all the Halloween decorations and the candy and everything else, it begs the question, what are our children going through when right now children will be talking about the costumes that they bought or the costumes that they're using from last year or which houses have the best candy and the best decoration, all of that. This happens in schools. We were in school. We heard it. It was all taking place. Alhamdulillah, we didn't ever participate in it because our parents taught us not to. But for us to think about is that the child, he or she will have this sense of belonging, have wanting to fit in with their colleagues and their classmates. Okay? And when you take that away from them and you say, no, it's haram, then the question then comes that will that child submit and comply without any hesitation, or will there be planted a seed of resentment that will grow against you as a parent and against Islam, which will only become a tree once the child hits 18 and says, I'm out of the house. Right? So it's to think about. So now you've got this child, and the child is, everyone's talking about this, and that day, Thursday evening, you say, no, you can't go trick-or-treating. Everyone else is going. You say, no, we're going to switch our lights off. Yeah. This is something that everyone recognizes. In a pluralistic society, you can choose to opt out of observing celebrations. No one's going to hold it against you. So choose to switch our lights off. Okay, we're not going to celebrate it. The child asks, but why? I know all these neighbors, and I've played with them throughout the year. They're all good neighbors. Their parents aren't going to put razors or whatever else in the candy. There's no harm there. And they're also Muslim friendly, so they know that Muslims can't eat gelatin. So they'll give all halal candy. What's there to stop me? Why can't I go and have fun? The parent will ask. Or the child will ask the parent. The one response is, Chup ho jao, be quiet. I'm your parent. I'm telling you what to do. I know what's best for you. Again, that seed of resentment, you don't want that in a child. That resentment will either be against you or it'll be against the deen. Either way, unfortunately, that relationship that's supposed to be there has been ruptured. So you sit with the child and you explain to the child why. You explain to the child the origins of this. Last 5 Halloweens I've been speaking about this. The origins of Halloween and how it came about. And it was a celebration that the pagans in Ireland used to do, of where they believed that spirits roamed the earth and they needed to be given a qurbani or a udhiyah so that the people could be saved. Every year they would have to give these offerings to the spirits that roamed the earth. This was the origins of it. Now you come to 1800s where Christians in North America felt that this, and they believed this was a pagan culture that had nothing to do with Christianity. And then you had the Great Potato Famine in mid-1800s, and people from Ireland came to North America. They brought that culture over here. They brought that culture as not a thing of we believe we have to give to these, to trick-or-treaters for us to be safe. They brought it as a day of celebration. Candies, costumes, it's a multi-million dollar industry if you ever think about this as an economics not a professor, just a basic analyst. The amount of pumpkins that are mass produced so that people can make jack-o'-lanterns. I mean, you think about this. The amount of money that goes into coffins and tombstones and cobwebs and costumes and all of that. It's an industry. And Muslims, unwillingly or unknowingly, we fall into this same gimmick that, whether we're observing it or we're telling our children, allowing our children to go, it all gets back down to understand who we are, understand what other things, what other observations or celebrations take place, and understand the difference. So, anyways, we're speaking about Halloween as a custom or as a celebration. Now we find ourselves, children want to go out, and we tell them, no, don't do it. So we'll say, okay, so why not? You try and rationalize it with them. You sit with them. You explain to them, this is not our way. And the first question the kid's going to ask you is, so what can we do? You keep telling me no. You're closing all these doors. You say that I can't have fun. Does it mean that if I'm a Muslim, I cannot have fun? And that's one of the worst things that now that child has come to that conclusion because it's incorrect, it's inaccurate. But it goes back to the onus comes on the parent. That have I made Islam a set of rules and rituals and restrictions that there's no place for the child to feel happy or comfortable within Islam? If that's the way I've presented Islam, then I have not fulfilled the amana of being a parent, and I need to reconsider. So the way to present it is like how, as a parent, I'm responsible for protecting my children from harmful company, harmful practices. You tell your child, don't go, if your friends are vaping, don't go join them. Why do you say that? Is because you want your child to have principles and to stand up for something and to stay away from things that are detrimental to his health, his or her health. The same thing applies here. You want your child to feel confident in his faith, that he should not feel the need to inferiority complex. He should not feel the need to want to fit in engaging in questionable practices that have pagan origins. Okay? So we say, okay, so what can we do? Well, give them alternatives. Not Halloween, because I don't agree with that concept, is you're taking the same thing and you're just twisting it a bit and you're saying that October 31st, instead of going trick-or-treating, you'll listen to jinn stories in the masjid. I don't agree with that. Now what you're doing is you're just putting a different label, but it's the same product. Give different alternatives in the sense that you make the child feel happy throughout the month, for example, in a way where he doesn't feel the need to actually go out, and he won't feel bad November 1st, Friday, when his classmates come to school and they show their bags of candy, or they say, we got all of these full-size chocolate bars from this house, and they talk about that, and your kid's like, well, I've got candy at home. I'm good. I don't need to go begging. That's something very important for all of us to understand. This is another way to look at it, is that we teach our children not to ask people. But now this is a dignified form of begging where you wear the costume and you go door to door, even though those people are ready to give it out. But what does it teach your child? It normalizes that one day a year you can go and you can go and put your hand in front of someone to ask them for something. That teaches also something that's in the workforce right now is a sense of entitlement among younger people that are entering the workforce, is they feel entitled. But that goes, look at this, something small is October 31st, one day a year, but that subliminal message that's going is you should feel entitled to it. Just because you took the effort of walking to my door, you get this candy. Okay. Anyways, so now we speak about identity, and we speak about thing of being principled. So now the question then comes is that you're telling us we can't do this, but nobody believes that October 31st, spirits roam the earth and we have to give candy. Right now, it's an innocent thing of you just going door to door and getting some candy. Nobody believes that if we don't give candy, then we'll be cursed and the nahusa will stay for the whole year. That belief no longer exists. It's a valid objection or i'tiraf, that anyone can think of. So why are you being so difficult? Why we're here? We don't follow all of that, believing it to be true. We just follow it because we want our kids to have fun. Sayyidina Hatim radiallahu anhu, we'll mention three examples from the lives of the Sahaba, and then inshallah we'll wrap it up. Sayyidina Hatim radiallahu anhu, he was Christian, and then he became Muslim. He became Muslim, obviously, in the company of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he had a gold chain in the shape of a cross. And he wore that prior to becoming Muslim with the belief that this cross resembles Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, or, according to the Christian belief, crucified on the cross. When he became Muslim, he chose to continue wearing it without that belief. So he didn't have that belief anymore, but he chose to wear it just as an accessory. You have a watch, your favorite watch, you wear it. It's just, you wear it, you don't think much of it. It's just something that's part of you. You feel comfortable wearing it. Sometimes if you wear a ring and then if you don't have your ring on, you feel a little bit uneasy, like, I don't have it. So he felt something of that nature. So he wore the chain, with the cross. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him, "Itrah anka hadha al-wathan." Toss this idol away. Idol. Use the word wathan. Wathan means idol. Now, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't ask him, "You don't believe in this anymore, right?" No. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam knew that this is a Sahabi, he became Muslim. Hatim radiallahu anhu, he didn't hold that same belief. But the mere resemblance of what he's wearing to what it represents, the connotation that it holds, was sufficient for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to give a clear command to dispose of it. One story. Second incident, that's from the Christian faith. From Jewish faith, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Salam radiallahu anhu, great Sahabi, very knowledgeable in the Jewish faith. He became Muslim. And when he became Muslim, he accepted Islam. Verses were revealed, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kaffa, specifically for this Sahabi. O believers, enter into Islam in totality, unconditionally, fully, not conditionally, something that suits me, I will take it, something else that doesn't suit me, I will keep it aside. Okay? And so he became a Muslim, great Sahabi. He had certain reverence for Yawm Sabt, Sabbath, Saturday. Because according in Judaism, Saturday is the day where they that's their holy day. There's no electricity that's supposed to be used and all these things that they do. But that's on Saturday. So Friday evening until Saturday evening, that day is where they are restricted from doing multiple things. So Sayyidina Abdullah bin Salam radiallahu anhu, being a Muslim, held a little bit of reverence for this day. One more incident, the same Sahabi. Among Judaism, in Jewish law, they're not permitted to eat camel meat. Sayyidina Abdullah bin Salam radiallahu anhu, he didn't say it's haram. He just opted out of it for this reason. Not because of his preference of, I don't like camel meat because it tastes funny or, it has this after effect or whatnot. He said, I don't feel comfortable eating it because I've lived an entire lifetime as a Jewish person of faith, of knowledge, who was not permitted to eat this. This verse was revealed, both of those instances. Meaning, whatever connotation that what you're doing has with a faith or with pagan rituals, abandon it completely and enter into Islam completely in totality. We'll end with this, which is very important for us living over here, is that when the Muslim empire was expanding, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he went to the frontiers by Palestine and Syria. And the Arab culture and the Roman culture clashed. As you have with any two cultures, you will have a clash of the cultures and then either one will swallow the other, or you will have a multicultural society like Canada. So where you had the Arab culture and you had the Roman culture, which was considered elite, where the clash occurred, some Sahaba began getting influenced by some of the Roman things in their culture, customs. Sayyidina Umar, he mentioned something to them, and we can take this, inshallah, from today's discussion. He said, Inna kunna adhalla qawm. He said, O people, reflect on your history and who you were. O Arabs, you were the people who were considered the most despicable of groups of nations. No one wanted to rule over you, whether it was the Persians or the Romans. No one wanted to recognize you diplomatically. No one felt you were worthy of any alliance or even wholesale trade agreements. You were just a group of people that people like these are people. Out of respect for the Sahaba, we're not going to obviously say words or give titles, but they were considered as people that were uncultured. So he says, Inna kunna adhalla qawm. Who's saying this? Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. At a time where Muslims and Romans, the cultures are clashing, not on the battlefield, but just the way of life. فَأَعَزَّنَا اللَّهُ بِالْإِسْلَامِ. He says, then Allah gave us honor. Us, the people who were at the bottom of the food chain, Allah gave us honor and respect through Islam. فَمَهْمَا نَطْلُبُ الْعِزَّةِ بِغَيْرِ مَا أَعَزَّنَا اللَّهُ بِهِ. Wherever you go, O Muslims, and you go and look for honor and respect and acknowledgement and validation in ways that Allah has not given you respect initially, meaning in besides Islam. You look for validation besides Islam. أذلنا Allah. Allah will humiliate and disgrace you. So this is something important for us to reflect on, going back to the ayah in the beginning. وَلَن تَرْضَ عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. To what extent are we going to try to please others? We teach our children to have a spine and to be usuli. We should also take some of that. The ayah, وَلَن تَرْضَ عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى. The Yahud and the Nasara will never be happy with you. Lan is for ta'keed. They will never be happy with you حتى تتبع ملتهم, until you fall headline, you fall right in and you embrace their faith fully. Then they'll be happy. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to grant us and our children confidence in our faith and confidence in our identity as Muslims. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله القائل إن الدين عند الله الإسلام، فنحمده حمدا كثيرا ونشكره شكرا جميلا، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله الذي يغبطه الأولون والآخرون، صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، فيا أيها الناس، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله، فقد فاز المتقون. ويقول الله عز وجل: قل يا أيها الكافرون. وفي آخر الآية: لكم دينكم ولي دين. وقال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام: بدأ الإسلام غريبا وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ، فطوبى للغرباء. وقال أيضا: من كثر سواد قوم فهو منهم، ومن رضي عمل قوم كان شريك من عمل به، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. والله سبحانه وتعالى يقول: وبقوله يهتدي المهتدون، وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا لعلكم ترحمون. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة. هذا وحثكم على طاعة الله وطاعة رسوله، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى، ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد خسر وغوى. وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له، ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك، صل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات، وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم أيد الإسلام وأنصاره، وأذل الشرك وأشراره. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم احفظ الحرمين الشريفين. اللهم حرر القدس الشريف من قبض المحتلين. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله تعالى يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Please straighten the sufuf and move forward.
الله أكبر الله أكبر، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. هيا على الصلاة، هيا على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
Please make sure your heels are in a straight line, connected to your fellow brother. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.